Are you hoping Nintendo does come up with a new console? Are you hoping that Xbox comes up with something even cooler? Are you hoping for PlayStation, even though you're not a
Okay,
Sony pony, to drop their VR2? Actually, that's another resolution of mine. Please drop it in 2022, the VR.
I would like from Nintendo a little tiny cloud device. I know it sounds crazy, but I want a little tiny cloud device that works that's really really cheap because you don't need some crazy hardware, and I would be willing to pay for a monthly service that gives me access to retro and newly upgraded retro style games. That's what I want. And something that's multiplayer where you could just flip it on real quick and you got some people over at your house and you want to play 4 player of some, like, I don't know, Battletoads or like Ninja
Battletoads,
Turtles or
bro.
something, right? Like,
Dude.
right, that's what I'm saying. Like, I want something like that directly from Nintendo, but I want it to be cloud based, and I want it to include a whole f ton of a library.
And that's possible.
Right. I mean, there's shit out there that's being sold like that already, but I want it from Nintendo.
Yeah, I agree. I would pay Nintendo for that.
Right, but I want it to be cloud based so that the device itself is not that expensive. You don't need a lot of hardware to run some of these retro style stuff. Like, I
Dude,
want it directly from Nintendo.
and you could compete against Stadia and GeForce and all that, all those other cloud gaming stuff, but this would be from Nintendo directly to
Yeah.
play all your retro game. And you know what?
Right.
Anything that I would call retro, don't put something that's out from the Switch onto this cloud until you make your next console, then you add on to your library.
I would probably take it to the next step and say I would be okay even if the console didn't come from Nintendo and it came from Nvidia. And they bundled it with GeForce Now. I would be okay with that, right? Because that's a selling point, because they do have a relationship with Nvidia. They do, right? Because Nvidia makes the chips for their consoles. So that would be an interesting thing to see, because GeForce Now is so heavily into cloud-based gaming. It would be cool for them to come out with a better freaking shaped dongle than the one that they have, and it comes with more of a Nintendo integration. That would be pretty cool for me, and I would probably like, that could end up being my main Android device at that point.
Dude, that actually be pretty dope, man.
Yeah.
Well, as you know, Nvidia Tegra is now sold to Nintendo, and they could actually do a lot of stuff with it. And Nintendo doesn't need crazy. I know we talked about this too, where Nintendo doesn't need crazy graphics, or they don't need a crazy graphics card because their graphics are not as crazy. But when you could make those cartoons look like you're watching a TV show, or when you can make those cartoons look like 4K or 8K or just insanely clean like that, because you don't have to worry about like actual people looking real in the game. Like, I want them to push that envelope for like you said, cloud gaming, and put those new graphics card, put those new chipsets, put the latest and greatest stuff, and move your resolution up to 4K or 8K and make it look so freaking sharp that you don't know if you're actually watching a freaking cartoon or if you're playing a game. Like, the last time I experienced that, and I know you don't like this show, South Park, when I played their video game, South Park, on the PlayStation, I felt like I was watching the cartoon show.
Right.
And if Nintendo could do something like that, I'm all for that cloud gaming, bro. Like, if they could do that cloud gaming, and maybe they don't even have to create a device, or if they do like a little cloud thing that you could move it around, or maybe just an app. If they could have an app that you could do that with, I'm in. I'll pay for that monthly subscription. I'm totally in. As soon as you said Battletoads, I was like, bro, that is dope. That's exactly what I would want. But
yeah, like, you need a new Battletoads, you need a new F-Zero. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that it would be nice to see again. Like, I had like the spaceship game growing up called Phalanx, and it was like a spaceship, and you could upgrade your spaceship and you shoot and stuff. And it's a lot of games that I grew up on. The Spider-Man games, like there's some really cool stuff. I had Maximum Carnage. That was a good game. There's a lot of good Nintendo games that are staples, and people, like, we want to be able to, the new consoles, they're really, really good at multiplayer when people are not at your house. But when people at your house, it gets a little complicated. You're always wondering, does this support local multiplayer? Because you never really know these days, right?
Yeah.
So we need some more standard devices that are not overly expensive, that support simple, easy games. Like even some of the games that you see on your phone. Like this is a poor example, but like phones like Zuma, not phones, games like Zuma, everybody was going crazy. Candy Crush. Like if you can get simple games like that that are multiplayer, like obviously a different concept, but those games don't require a lot of hardware to run. You know what I mean?
Put it on the cloud.
Put it on the cloud, and then you could have fun, easy games with the person that's sitting next to you, right? And I think that we really need some of that to bring some of the relationships closer together in the households, right? A lot of times we spend time with the people in our house, but we're not actually spending time with them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it'll be cool too, because they don't have to worry about remote controls either. Just use Stadia or use NVIDIA's, like they have their own remote control.
Right.
Shoot, if they could strike a deal with PlayStation and Xbox to be like, hey,
They wouldn't,
but that would be badass.
But I could see them more likely to do it with Stadia or GeForce. They'll never do it with Xbox or PlayStation, but
one can dream.